How you doing, everybody? My name is Master Sergeant Higgins. I'm out here at headquarters AFRS. This month we get to do the Mentor of the Month for the Recruiting Service Top 3 with Chief Master Sergeant Macho. And I just want to invite everybody to please, that's listening in, mute your cell phones. You can dial into our conference call, 515-604-9028. And the PIN is 870161 if you're not on already. And we'd just like to welcome Chief Master Macho. Thank him for his time today and your words of wisdom that you'll bestow upon us. First, we just wanted to introduce you and find out a little bit about you, where you're from, where you've come from in recruiting, how long you've been around. For those that may not know you, which I think might be impossible, but
You're funny.
Chief Macho.
All right. Well, thanks again for having me. Yes, I really do appreciate the opportunity. A little bit about myself. Matt Macho, been in the Air Force for going on 29 years now, from Sacramento, California. Old supply guy, did that for about 9 years. Got an opportunity to be stationed in Germany, Maine, and New Mexico, and then put in for recruiting service in 1999, and did my time as a EA recruiter out in Fair Oaks, California. Then I worked Sacramento MEPS, was a trainer, flight chief in Raleigh, North Carolina for about 4 years. Became a group trainer out in 6-9 group. From there, production superintendent in California, squadron superintendent, 72nd recruiting group superintendent, and now the opportunity to be the operations division superintendent at AFRS. Thanks again for having me.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Again, I'm Master Sergeant Higgins, Chris Higgins, and today we're going to be talking about a couple of topics that are near and dear to Chief Macho's heart, and they should be near and dear to most of you because they are part of our 7 mission critical tasks, right? So one of the topics today is going to be sales, and the other is building relationships. So in the realm of sales, one of the first things that we wanted to talk about today, Chief, was just the tools that we already have at our fingertips, right? So we have some pretty amazing tools that we have reached out to the civilian community, the folks that are out there doing these things in a business environment day to day, and they've given us some great tools to use. And we wanted to talk about some of those things and how they might be able to help us as recruiters. So, Chief, what kind of tools do we have at our fingertips, and how can we use them more effectively?
Well, obviously, we all know about impact, and that's foundational. And it's only as good as how much we educate ourselves and know about impact. And so that's the platform, that's the starting piece, and so I think the best thing to do with impact and learning that process is making sure that you're venturing out and finding out who are really good at sales and that platform. Do some shadow training out there, learning from others that are very successful with that, because you're not expected just to do that alone. It's all about practicing that, but you have to see it as well. Most of us are visual, and so when we get to see that opportunity of how that thing unfolds and how it comes to life, we're better for it. The second piece is, and I'm not sure everybody in the command knows about this, but it's that trimetrics piece. And that's really about self-awareness. It's about understanding yourself. It's about a 45-page report on yourself. And that kind of breaks down to find out if you're an introvert, an extrovert, if you're well-developed, if you need development. It's really the DISC process. So find out if you're dominant, if you're an influencer, steady, or compliant, right? And what that does is it really gives you an opportunity to take a look inside yourself. And I'll tell you from my experience, just from before, just a quick story. I had a commander, him and I first started a little bit like this, and we both pulled out our trimetrics. We sat down together and realized I'm a very high I and influencer and D dominance, and he was a very high C. So I go into his office, hit it, get it, and go, want to talk real quick and get out of there. Well, for him, because he was about compliance, it was more about making sure that I was getting him all the information so he can make a good decision. Well, without this knowledge, knowing it, we just did this. After we sat down and kind of broke down the trimetrics, our own behaviors, we really got to see what each other was like as people. And from that point forward, we went from this to this. So I recommend that if you haven't put in the time with your leadership, with others around you, to sit down and talk about your own behaviors with others, please do so. Take that extra time. It doesn't take that long. Again, it's about a 45-page report, but it's based off you. And the first thing that we have to do is invest on ourselves. And once you do that, we just end up being better in the long run.
What other tools, Chief, are there available to the recruiters out there to help improve themselves with in regards to extracurricular type learning that might be available via PACE or ebooks and things like that? I know there's some pretty cool tools that you have available that.
Yeah, there's a ton of stuff out there. One is Overdrive. If you don't have the Overdrive app, please go and download that. What you do is you go download Overdrive, put in Air Force. It's our Air Force library. There are thousands of ebooks on there if you're a reader, if you like podcasts, if you like to listen. There are literally thousands and thousands of different types of topics and books to better help yourself, not just professionally, but personally as well. So there's self-improvement books, there's book on sales, there's on leadership, there's just about every different genre that there is to help better prepare yourself so you can be the most successful on and off duty.
Appreciate it, Chief. And some of these things that we're talking about today, we'll go ahead and make those things available on our Facebook site. We'll share them via email with everybody, Air Force Overdrive, and some of the links to TriMetrics if you're interested in taking that, or if you're interested in retaking it or getting your surveys, you can reach out to your group trainers and squadron trainers as well. So as we go along through these questions, through this interview with Chief Macho, if you have anything that you might be interested in asking him, we're going to do a Q&A at the end. So please log on to the Facebook Live for the Recruiting Service Top 3. Throw in your questions, and we'll go ahead and get to a few of those at the end of this interview. So please reach out and ask some questions. Chief, can you expound on why sales is so important, so important, and so much a part of what we do every day, both on duty and off duty? Why is sales so important? What's it boil down to?
Well, think about life. Think about every day from when we wake up to when we go to bed. A sale's always made. Either you sell them on why they should, or they sell you on why they should. And so there's always a sales made. And I really think it's linked to relationship building. You know, it's putting yourself in a situation to improve your circumstances or to help somebody else improve their circumstances. And so we do this day in and day out. And so we have the platform. The Air Force actually pays for us to learn about impact and relationship building and TriMetrics. And we have all the tools at our fingertips that civilians pay thousands and thousands of dollars to try and learn. And so take advantage of those, because it's everything from buying a car to buying a house to taking care of your kids, if you have kids, or your significant other in school, helping them with counselors and principals and sports, all those things. So I think it's vitally important to understand what sales is and how it can relate to you in your own life.
Thanks, Chief. I appreciate it. The next question that we have is in regards to testimonies. So anybody that goes out and buys something, whether it's a new car, whether it's a new toy for the house, whatever it might be, a new television, iPhone, whatever. We go out, we search Amazon, we search Google, we do tons of research to make sure that what we're buying is the best possible quality product, right? So it's no different for these airmen that are joining the Air Force or these individuals that we're going out and influencing in the community. So how do we use personal testimony in what we do every day when we sell?
So that's a great question. I think one of the things, and I'm sure that many of our airmen are doing that already, but anybody that you put in the Air Force, whether it's EA, LO, HP, anybody, have we invested the time and have them actually write up their story? Why did they join? What was it that was important to them? Because everybody has a story, and personal testimony is huge. Every time we do go buy something, maybe not all of us, but we take a look at reviews and what did somebody else say about this product or service. And so again, when you have folks come in for the Recruiter Assistance Program or somebody graduating from Officer Training School or BMT, have them take the opportunity, and now it can be electronic, just by email, stating, hey, this is who I am, this is where I'm from, this is where I graduated, this is what the Air Force has done for me. some of the challenges that I faced with, how many college credits they got, those kind of things. And so that really pays huge dividends in the long run, because it's not just you as a recruiter anymore talking about our enterprise. It's other people that are not recruiters that can personally say, hey, this is fantastic. Serving your country is absolutely outstanding. And this is what it did for me. And so you can use that and arm yourself with that kind of information to maybe overcome some of the objections that are out there.
Awesome. Thank you, Chief. Another question that we kind of threw around was the challenges that we face in AFRS today. There's a lot of things going on in the world, both globally, nationally, and then at our local recruiting levels. What sales challenges do you see facing AFRS in today's recruiting environment?
I think one of the pieces is making sure that we're investing quality time and making sure that we are getting trained ourselves, using all of these tools, understanding what those 7 mission critical tasks are, and then putting them to practice and taking opportunities to go out and see other people that are successful, putting in that extra time. Because what we end up doing is we think about budgetary constraints and those kind of things. So what we end up doing is we go talk to maybe our office partner or someone who's right down the road where it's easy. I would ask that you get with your unit leadership and see if you can find out who you really connect with. And it could be someone 100, 200, 300 miles away. But that connection is so important to go out and see what that success looks like and have them break down those things that you're weak at so you can strengthen yourself and become more successful.
Thanks, Chief. And so it's just as important for our recruiters to seek that training as it is for the individuals above them and the leaders to provide it.
Oh, absolutely. It starts with us, right? It starts with us. You got to want to be successful. You have to believe that it doesn't matter where you're planted. Our gems are in our backyard, and so that really kind of goes into having a positive attitude. And wherever we end up in our United States Air Force, we make the best of it. We put our best foot forward every single day. We build those influencers and relationships. And so, yeah, I mean, the onus is on us. Now, the other side is leadership does play a part. They have to invest in us as well. They have to be there for us when we're asking questions and asking for help, and we need guidance and support and assistance. That's also very important. But 50% of that comes from us as an individual to want to be successful and want to reach out and find that kind of success.
Awesome. Chief, what do you think would be the one thing that could help take our command to the next level?
The one thing that could take our command to the next level. I think if we're talking about sales and relationships, we really have come into a technological turning point where it's not just meeting people in person. Look at the data out there, and it really shows that more and more people are using YouTube. It's not old. I mean, a lot of 18 to 24-year-olds, if you look, there's about 90% of them are using YouTube. Some of the things that I hear is Facebook is antiquated and it's old, but the data shows otherwise. It's still showing about 75% of the folks that we're looking for are on Facebook. So the question is how do we get on YouTube? How do we get on Facebook? One of the squadrons out there, just about once a week, I see a new recruiter, and it tells their story and how they're hiring and where they're from, and that personal testimony I was talking about earlier. They did it as individuals themselves, and they're socializing themselves to where they are, why the Air Force is so great for them, that we're hiring. So it's using the technological platforms, and definitely get with marketing folks on what's legal and what's not legal, of course, because there's a ton. I wrote a few things down. Snapchat, Twitter, LinkedIn is a great platform as well, especially our health professions, line officer recruiters. You can jump out on LinkedIn. Just make sure that it's professional. Your backdrop looks good, and obviously they only see you in that one moment in time. And so this is our professional uniform, in my humble opinion, and it looks the sharpest. We stand the tallest. We're the most confident. Obviously, there are certain situations where you don't wear the blue uniform, but from the professionalism standpoint, I think this is the uniform for recruiting service, in my opinion.
All right, Chief, I want to transition over into building relationships because I know that's one of the most important things near and dear to your heart. Tell our listeners a little bit about your 6 pillars of success, how they came to be, and just kind of why they're so important to you.
Okay. Yeah, so 6 pillars of success for me is really a sum total of my own experiences. Learning from great mentors, leaders, subordinates. I learn from everybody, and I'm very receptive to change. And it's not a rank thing; it's a human being thing. It's about us taking care of one another. And so my 6 pillars basically start off in no particular order. First is to be credible, because obviously no one cares about you until you show how much you care about them first. And credibility builds trust, and trust builds loyalty. And I don't know that I'm a big believer of strength in numbers as I am a big believer in strength and loyalty, being loyal to our cause and what it is that we do. And, really, we all want to be successful. And so credibility is a big part of that. Second piece is attitude. And my motto is attitude equals altitude, but it's one of the only things that we really can control in our life. It's from the time that we wake up in the morning, we get to make a decision. Either we're going to be positive or we're going to be negative, but the choice is ours. And so I choose to use be positive in just about everything that I do. I realize that sometimes we have peaks and valleys, and sometimes when we're in the valleys, we got to reach out to other people to be positive, to help us out. Just don't find the be negative people when you're trying to reach out and you're trying to get some comfort and have a positive attitude. Respect. Everybody deserves dignity and respect. That's everybody. And so I'm not a person that is into the position of judging anyone. We all have different stories in life, and we need to respect everybody. Being present is huge for me. That is that anybody that's in front of you is the most important person in your life at that moment in time. And I really think of that as a leadership perspective as well. When you're going out and you're visiting your recruiters, or if you're a production superintendent, you're visiting your flight chiefs. Sometimes we're so task saturated that we spend more time on our cell phones, and we're launching our emails, and we get inundated with other things, and then we leave that office and we look back and go, wow, I don't think I really spent that quality time with them. And it's just about being present in that moment. And I really think as a recruiter in your sales call, when you're building that relationship and you're earning that trust from your client, whomever that is, or even if it's an influencer out in the field, it's really important that they understand that you're there for them. And when they see that, you earn their trust. It's not just so much of what you know about the Air Force. So you really sell yourself first. And so you get that respect back, and they really listen. And enthusiasm, it's contagious. Start an epidemic out there. Have high energy. Have fun. Enjoy what we're doing. We're here for a short amount of time. Be energetic. Be happy with who you are. Be happy with what you're doing. That's huge. And then lastly is confidence. You got to have confidence in your ability to get things done. And confidence takes a little bit of time when you're new, And I think that's one of our challenges when we're new in anything that we do. Every single different position we've had, we're always uncomfortable. Biggest piece for us in the process of recruiting is we're 5 or 7 levels before we come in and become a recruiter. We're the go-to guy. We're the expert. And then we go into recruiting and nobody's going to us anymore. And it takes a little bit of time. And so that's why you have to educate yourself on how to be successful and search out for people that have already been successful. And when you do that, you start building confidence in your ability to be successful, and then you really just take off.
Awesome. So I told you guys at the beginning we were going to take some questions from the field, from Facebook Live, the comments that you guys are posting, the questions. So we're going to do one right now. It's from Rebecca Camposano. She wants to know, Chief, what, if any, do you have one specific book that you think every leader in AFRS should read?
Leader. Yes. So there's a lot. There's a lot of books. I would say, depending on where you're at in your career, Lincoln on Leadership, is a great book. I changed the M to an L, so it's LBWA. And so if you can hear me okay, shoot me an email, let me know what that MBWA stands for in that book. But definitely go either buy it or take a look on this really cool app called Overdrive. And maybe you can get it for free. You can check it out of that library for 10 days and check it out that way. There are so many great leadership books. A lot of them are very similar in nature. They reinforce themselves, which is very interesting. But it's about doing the right things and taking care of people and wanting to elevate others and doing the right things yourself and caring for one another. That's a big piece of it.
Awesome. Thank you, Chief.
Mm-hmm.
Another question that we have is in relation to how you present yourself to others. So many people see you as a motivating, kind of captivating, inspiring type of person. Always seem to be smiling, always seem to be in a good mood. Your Chief coin has the inscription, attitude equals altitude, right? And so how is being having a positive attitude, is that something successful people, which we consider you to be, obviously you're Chief Master Sergeant of the United States Air Force, almost 30 years. Is that a natural trait, or is that something that we can learn? And if so, how? How do we learn how to be more positive? How do we learn how to have a positive attitude?
That's a great question. I think it can be learned. I think it's through self-talk, how you talk to yourself, whether you're positive or negative. Surrounding yourself by people that are very positive, that have great attitudes. That's huge. You suffocate yourself with people that are like-minded, and if you're negative, you're going to suffocate yourself with negativity. If you want to be positive, then associate yourself with positive people that have a great attitude, and ask them the questions: is how do you do it? And it starts from getting up first thing in the morning. Like for me, I'm a win the morning, win the day kind of guy. I get up very early in the morning. I go to the gym. I go from the gym to on my way to work. 30 to 45 minutes is the time it takes to get here, and I'm on Audible, and I'm doing some kind of self-improvement, or I'm on Overdrive. I use both, and I'm constantly learning, and it reinforces people that are very positive. And then I come to work, and there's just great airmen everywhere. So I get an opportunity to sometimes go down the hall and see some of our folks that are very positive, and it inspires me to stay positive. And so it's really just the things that you do in life. Surround yourself with really good people that are very positive. And if you can't do that, then get into the books and find a way to be inspired. Because again, we're here for a short amount of time. So time is precious. And the truth is we all have the same 24 hours. And so for some reason, some people are more successful in those 24 hours than others. And so I think attitude definitely has a lot to do with it.
Chief, so some of the folks that are listening, I know I've been in this position myself, you might be far away from a base where you're not working around great airmen every day. You might be by yourself. You might be working with folks that are disgruntled about becoming recruiters, or other recruiters that flight chiefs or trainers or anything like that. You might be around people that are just generally down. How do you keep yourself up when so many other people around you might be bringing you down and you're all alone?
So one thing is you're never alone. They got this really cool thing. I know everyone's heard of it by now. It's called Google. And so when you go into your community, if you're geographically separated, trust me, cities, counties, everywhere you go, there's people that are very motivated. You can go to Toastmasters. You can go to the Chamber of Commerce. You can go into events where I've done several events where I've went in and listened to Rudy Giuliani, Joe Montana, Zig Ziglar when he was alive. Those guys are just absolute inspiration. And that's just by getting online and saying, motivational speakers in my local area. And there's just so many different community events out there, because every community has people that are very successful, and it's about reaching out to them and finding a way to listen to things that they know and take some of the things that you learn from them and put it in your own toolbox.
And there's so many people in the community that are willing and ready to help the military. Maybe they wanted to serve, they had a desire to serve, maybe they couldn't do that. Maybe they're very successful in their communities, and they're ready and willing to reach out and help those individuals that are out there struggling.
Yeah, absolutely.
Chief, what are some things that you do to stay positive on a daily basis? I know you talked about working out, you talked about Overdrive books on your way into work. what are some other things that you've incorporated into your life that you've learned help you stay more positive?
Well, I have really good friends. I have an awesome family. My wife is just fantastic. My son and daughter are both great. I love them dearly. I go outside. I think one of the things for me is I think it's just as important to do things together outside the uniform than it is in the uniform. And I think it's one of those things where we get an opportunity to know each other as people, and because we're on that day-to-day grind, sometimes we don't take that opportunity and really get to know our people, and you get out of the uniform and you get an opportunity to spend some quality time with one another, and you start hearing other people's stories, and it's one of those things where once you learn about other people and what they're going through and some of their challenges in life, for me, I want to help them, and I want to be helped when I need it. And it's a true wingman concept. Wingman is not just about what you do on the job. It's about us coming together on and off the job to take care of each other so we can all be strong, so we can all go after success. Because that's what we want. That's why we're here. We want to be successful, and we want to take care of our United States Air Force at the same time. And we want to take care of our families or significant others.
And so some of our flight chiefs, recruiters that might be geographically separated from an Air Force base, they have those individual unit funds, right? They can go out and take advantage of those during their flight meetings. I've seen kayak trips. I've seen all kinds of events that the Air Force will help sponsor, pay for, to help you get out of the office and do those things out of uniform.
Absolutely.
And not enough people are taking advantage of those IUF funds. A lot of times they go unused.
So if that's you, take advantage of them starting today. Put in for it, especially if you're in a leadership position. You have IUF funds. Use them. They're there for a reason, for you to get out and build some camaraderie and esprit de corps with your team.
Chief, we got another question from Facebook Live here. One of the comments from Dara Laura. What advice would you give a new flight chief to help motivate our new recruiters leaving their old AFSC and coming into the sales world where they might be a 3-level now?
So that's a great question. To me, as a flight chief, never forget where you came from and really spend quality time with that brand new recruiter. And I've seen both ways. One is flight chiefs are just phenomenal. So excited to have a brand new recruiter and get them in there and hey, these are the things that this is what's gonna happen. And this is kind of a step approach and give you the timelines and show you how to be successful. And then some of our guys out there are, oh, you're going to what area? Well, that's not they haven't made goal in the last couple of years, and so it's really setting our recruiter up for success and finding the goodness on wherever anybody is going, because there's always good and there's always challenges out there. And so I think it's really spending the quality time, getting them up to speed as soon as possible, letting that new airman in recruiting service know that they own 50% of their success and the other 50% is on me to come out and show you how to be successful and get you there so you can build confidence from within. And, this is a tough job, but if it was easy, anybody could do it, right? And so we get the best of the best airmen that are out there. It takes about 8 to 12 months to figure all this stuff out where it starts clicking, because you have to build relationships out in your zone. You have to build relationships with influencers. You have to build relationships with parents. You have to build relationships with your community, and that takes time. And for us, I just tell you from my old supply days, when I first came in recruiting, it was very tough. I was very comfortable in supply. I was very uncomfortable when I became a brand new recruiter. Why? Because I had to do a whole bunch. It's like a brand new start almost. It's fresh. It's a fresh look of really a new career. And you got to get out there and explore things and become uncomfortable to get comfortable. And once you do that over and over and over again, you build that confidence, like I said before, and it helps you along the way to become successful.
Chief, to go along with that question, a lot of recruiters, they're coming to their career field from other career fields as maybe a 5-level or a 7-level, very subject matter expert in the career field, right? And they're coming to us, and recruiting sales is by nature a rejection type of environment, right? You get told no way more than you get told yes. So how, when those recruiters come in, maybe never dealt with failure before. They've never been told no. They've never been in that environment. So how do we help coach them through that as they feel rejected and they feel like they're just not doing a good job?
Yeah, one of the biggest things is just knowing that we all go through that same process. Keep in mind that it's about 110 contacts to put one person in the United States Air Force. And people are just not qualified for various reasons, or they're comfortable in their own situation and don't find this as a new opportunity, and rejection is the norm. But for every no, you're that much closer to a yes, and you got to keep pushing it. And again, that goes back to like the IUF funds, a flight coming together and talking among your peers, and what was it like for you? And I think many of us really have a challenging time when we first start off, because we just came from somewhere where we were comfortable. But how long did it take us in the Air Force to get comfortable before we came in recruiting? How long did it take to get a 5 or a 7 level? Years, right? And so just don't have that expectation that right out the gate, you're going to be fully successful as a recruiter, because right out the gate in the United States Air Force, you were not, it was uncomfortable. And so it's a normal piece, but you're not alone. That's the biggest piece. We all go through that. And so it's really having those conversations with others to help get you through those moments in time.
You're going to be taking some of that uncomfortableness here in about 12 months when you prepare for that retirement, huh? Experiencing something brand new, starting all over again.
One level all over again. Take about 12 months, saturate the market,
there you go.
Meet and greet influencers. Absolutely.
For sure. All right, Chief. So who, as recruiters, who are the most important people that we need to build relationships with, and why?
Recruiters. So for me, I'd say a couple. Your influencers out in your community, your schools. School programs are, probably some of the most important processes that you need to be doing. One is, if you get in front of a class, that's 30 initial interviews in 1 hour. That's big bang for your buck, so to speak, where you get face-to-face time. So it's really getting in with your schools and your counselors, your principals. Part 2 is, who are our third-party concerns out there? Who are our third-party influencers out there when our young people, which the average age right now on the EA side anyway is 20 years old for them to join the Air Force. Usually we have mom and dad, that are somewhere around, or big brother, big sister. And so invite them in for that initial interview. Sit down with them, because one of the big things is you're not going to be able to overcome those objections when they're not in front of you. So when those young people leave and mom or dad has questions that you weren't able to answer, it puts doubt in their minds. So it's better just to bring them in. In fact, if they're in high school still, you could pretty much make that mandatory that a parent will show up. If you're married, have a significant other, they need to be there at the initial interview as well. Those are huge influencers. And again, it's about building relationships and earning trust. And sometimes your significant other might have different questions than you have that you can answer on the spot to relieve some of that stress and pressure too, especially if you've been in a relationship for a long time and they know that he or she might be leaving for eight weeks or 8 months, maybe 2 years, who knows? So you have to really sit down with those influencers and make sure that they're at ease as well, because they're the ones that are going home.
Absolutely. It goes along with a question from Facebook Live here. Again, you can ask questions on Facebook Live. We'll get those to the Chief. Katie Woods wants to know, or wants you to touch on why the sale after the sale is just as critical as the initial sale as it pertains to debt management.
Well, so that's a great question too. I really link sales and relationships together. And so when you're sitting there initially for a sales call, you're just learning about each other. There's so much more than the initial sale. It's about world-class customer service, and it's about taking them through the entire process from cradle to grave. And guess what happens? People do not can, because they don't want to let you down, because you've put in that, you invested quality time to make sure that they were going to be successful all the way through the process. You can't do the old Ronco saying of set them and forget them, meaning that you can't do the sale, they swear in, and then you don't see them anymore. And you always have to go back on how many times did you see the individual before they swore in? And then how many times do you see them after they swear in? And if there's a big discrepancy between the two, you might want to rethink about how you're working your debt management. Second piece, now after they've left for boot camp, you've done your personal testimony and they've done that email to you. A lot of times when they come back home, they're going to talk all their friends about how great this experience was and how awesome their recruiter was. Or they won't come back at all, or they'll come back and you don't know that they came back because you didn't give them world-class customer service. So it's building that relationship through the entire process. And I know recruiters that are out there doing a phenomenal job that have watched their young people's careers, not just from the beginning, but I mean, some have retired as chiefs and lieutenant colonels and all that stuff. That's pretty powerful what it is that we do. And it's us just showing again that how much we care about these young people and making a difference in their life.
And when our recruiters can see the effect of those individuals joining the Air Force and coming back and seeing their career progress, you talked earlier about making it important to themselves. They have to feel invested, passionate about what they do. It's an amazing opportunity to see somebody change their life and take that and use that as a catalyst to do a better job as a recruiter.
It really is.
Chief, another question that we have about building relationships is how do we do that when society has shifted to such a digital communication platform versus the face-to-face, the traditional face-to-face? Why is that still important, and how do we overcome that?
So I think that on the enlisted accession side, I still think that face-to-faces are very important. The investment, because they're younger, they're anywhere from 17 to about 23 is about the average ages in there. And we have third-party concerns, and that's a little bit tougher to overcome when you're doing that stuff virtually. I think you can do a lot more on the line officer side and the health profession side on the virtual piece. But there's other things you could do. It's again, do we have the ability to go into some of these social networking pieces and kind of sell ourselves and build that credibility through maybe your YouTube channel or LinkedIn and those kind of things, and build a page to where you have personal testimony for people that are on active duty. And then they can go in and go, wow, I'm really interested in this. This guy's from my area. You build it as from your AOR to help with that. Because it is a little bit tougher for some of our recruiters that have to drive 300 or 400 miles to go see somebody. So we need to make sure that all of our recruiters have the resources that they need on the technological side to make sure that they can reach out through FaceTime or Skype or what have you.
Chief, to go along with that question, much of our society is spending most of their time online connected. I know we look at our kids, we look at people in high school, everybody's got a cell phone, they've got it in front of their face all the time, tripping over the curb because they're watching their phone and not where they're going. We have less time to capture the attention of our audience because they're very short attention span. They're very focused on what they want to do. How much more important is it for our presentation and our subject knowledge and our attitude and everything about us and the way that we present the Air Force and ourselves, how much more important is that today than it was back when those things didn't exist?
It's huge. It's really about that first impression, right? And again, I kind of go back to the blues. I asked a group of folks, some of our airmen at a workshop, and I asked them what they preferred, OCPs or blues. And they said OCPs, and I said, why? I said, well, that's where I'm the most comfortable. And I question it, is it about being most comfortable or is it about being most professional? How you look. We stand, I think we all agree, we stand a little bit taller in our blues, right? We show a little bit more confidence. So it's not always just about that comfort level. And you might only have one shot through Skype or FaceTime. And of course, it depends on the program and it depends on the situation and the environment. But I think it's about having a positive attitude, showing them how much energy you have and how excited you are about serving in our United States Air Force, and what your dress and appearance looks like, all the way from heel and sole dressing on your core fram to, the full ensemble. Are you sharp in uniform? And look in the mirror. It'll tell you how you look. And if you're a little bit off or you're waddling a little bit, maybe you got to take a look at yourself. It's all about being professional, though. That's all I'm saying.
Appreciate it, Chief. I'm going to ask you another question from our listeners. We've got about 20 minutes left, I think, on this interview. This is from Troy Burgess. Chief, what is your perspective on the Total Force Initiative, and what changes can we expect in the near future to become a Total Force?
So Total Force is absolutely happening, and that is, as of right now, we're trying to integrate our reserves, guard. We're working directly with USAFA, ROTC, and the civilian community. It's great, and I'll give you some philosophy behind why it's great. One is, about a year ago, we went out to do some training near the 319th Squadron, and we brought in 50 Guard, Reserve, and active duty folks. And it was a training opportunity just really to get to know each other and share some business, right? And we sat down, and one of the things that I caught right off the bat is some of our guys, we're all in the Air Force. We're all in the Air Force together. And some of the guys that were recruiters that were a mile away from each other in offices didn't even know each other. So there's no handoff. So if we're having greater success for ourselves, instead of tactfully dismissing somebody because maybe active duty wasn't right for them, why wouldn't we want to get to know our counterparts and still help our Air Force as a whole and share our business to them? And so we got to do better at that. Second piece, marketing. How many times have we went to a marketing event and reserves or guard or, 4 or 5 tables down, the guard's spending $3,500 and we're spending $3,500 and reserves is spending $3,500. When instead, all 3 of the components can come together and say, hey, do you want to share a table for $3,500? And then we can talk a little bit about all the components and ultimately take care of our Air Force. And so we're continuing down that path of integrating. We've already done that at the schoolhouse now. It's been great feedback. I think the first class started on the 8th of January, and we're having conversations about Total Force. Now, just keep in mind, as far as recruiters are concerned, at this point in time, an active duty recruiter will recruit active duty, reserve will recruit reserve, and guard will recruit guard. And we're continuing down that path, but it's really just about having that base knowledge about one another so we can help our Air Force as a total force instead of just helping ourselves.
Some of the other things that we've seen recently is just the shift towards joint instructions, joint PSDGs, joint medical standards, things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a lot of things in the works, and I don't want to talk too much on those pieces, right, because they haven't all come to life, but just as an example, one of the things that we're working on right now is the Surgeon General community to make sure that we're standardized across all of the components. So you're not disqualified. If you leave active duty and you go in the reserves, you could potentially be disqualified, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So we got to do better. That's the thing is we got to do better. And so I think we are.
And much like our innovation cell, we now have a Total Force integration cell here at headquarters AFRS that is dedicated to implementing those changes and helping those along.
And as we're standing that piece up, some of the feedback that we've gotten from recruiters out in the field is having some type of a Salesforce platform out there because we don't want you to have the circle of death, so to speak, and going into AFRIS and trying to generate leads and spending all that extra time. We'd rather you to be able to have the ability on your cell phone to grab a lead. It automatically jumps into our Salesforce platform. It transfers automatically to one of the other components, and it's seamless. And that is a direction we're going, and the Total Force Integration Cell is working on that piece.
Awesome. Thanks, Chief, for that insight. We do have time for more questions. If anybody's just logged in, I see a couple of people just joined on Facebook Live. If you have questions, please ask them. We'll get them to Chief Macho. We got about 15 minutes left. Another question that we have with building relationships is what is the single most important thing that you found to improving relationships in your life, and what lessons from your life can you share with us?
Single most important
thing that you've learned that has helped you improve your relationships with those around you, whether on or off duty?
I would say probably be open. Be open to change. Be open to listening to everybody. It's not just about you, it's about us. And I think that when you open your mindset up a little bit, be receptive and be willing to make changes and listen to as many people as possible. Again, it's not just about rank, it's about being a human being and building relationships that hopefully will last you a lifetime, not something that's short-lived, only one tour. And you can look back and kind of reflect on yourself, on how many folks that you still are in contact with. And I've been absolutely blessed with building great relationships across the Air Force for all these years. And I think it's really just being open and being honest and building those relationships that you want to last and taking care of one another. That's what it's really all about. Challenges I think with that piece is we have an understanding that we are different. We have different sum totals of our own experiences. And so sometimes if somebody is different, we might not look at them the right way or differently. I might not want to build that relationship. But if you just open it up and be willing to learn from everybody, and it's pretty awesome. It really is.
Chief, we have another question from Omar Hernandez. He says, how was your transition going from recruiter to a flight chief, and what was your biggest challenge?
Okay, so first, I'm very thankful that I went from recruiter to MEPS to training, then to flight chief. It gave me an opportunity, so I call it NASCAR to a golf cart. So as a recruiter, you're in NASCAR, it's 200 miles an hour. It's just nonstop, the stresses and the pressures of making mission and taking care of people and all those things. I got an opportunity to really slow down and go into the MEPS and training and see a bigger perspective before I got an opportunity to lead my team. So that was one piece. The biggest challenge for me is walking into the flight that I took over that was very unsuccessful and heads down. And I feel like that was a really good scenario for me, but it was also very challenging for me as well because I wasn't used to failing. I didn't really know what that looked like. I failed the first couple months as a recruiter because it was very difficult, and I was able to overcome those challenges. And just having 7 different personalities as a flight chief and getting them on the same sheet of music to where they could get a taste of winning, just a small taste of winning, and then just kind of building on that and building. And so my flight was 72% for the year, 26 pure cancellations. It was brutal. We were 212 out of 220 in the command at the time. I had an awesome administrator that was my right hand. She did phenomenal work. And I had an informal leader out there that was by my side that I really needed, because it took about 90 to 120 days to start changing that thought process. And it was about being out there with those guys and being excited about where they are and getting rid of all the negativity, just stripping that and just thinking about being positive.
Yeah. And judging from the comments here from a lot of you, it seems like you would agree with that you present yourself, Chief, as somebody who just treats everybody as a friend and really takes care of people, which translates into success. If you do that long enough, you're consistent enough with it. Chief, we have one more question, and that's going to be from Katie Woods. She said, Chief, how would you explain to recruiters from a flight chief perspective the trust but verify concept versus micromanaging? Recruiters sometimes feel micromanaged, whereas flight chiefs are ensuring everyone is moving forward, and this in itself can hinder thriving relationships because recruiters don't feel trusted with jobs.
Yeah, no. So one of the pieces for me on trust but verify, because I think it's very, very important, one of the things that you're doing is making sure that if there's any weaknesses within your airmen, things that they might be able to do better, you get to actually see that when you're actually doing those office visits and you're looking at stuff. If you look at a school program, it's not that you don't trust the individual that they went there. The question is what it is that they're doing while they're there. And is there anything as a leader where we can lead them for greater success, to show them maybe a different perspective on those things. And we're in the Air Force. There's another piece of it is we got to do the things that we're supposed to be doing when we're supposed to do them. But I think really it's It's about helping our recruiters become more successful as a flight chief. To going out there and going, all right, I see you went to the school visit. What is it that you did specifically? Have you ever thought about going in this direction as well? Why don't I suspend you to do that, get a little bit uncomfortable, to make yourself a little more comfortable, and try it this way. And it's really on our language. You don't have to be completely directive, in your face. You did this wrong. I'm going in. I'm looking at your stuff. It's really about tact and never forgetting where you came from. And you were a recruiter once too. And how did you want to be treated? And if you do it with dignity and respect, and you find good things and find things that they need to improve, I think you're better off in the long run.
I think, Chief, too, it just goes along with what we learned in Impact, is that being a coach versus being a boss or a manager, and knowing when to turn that on and when to turn it off.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Chief, that's all we have for questions. We've answered all the questions from Facebook Live, and then we've talked about all the things that we wanted to today with building relationships and sales. Do you have any final thoughts or words of wisdom for our listeners, for the top 3 and the 5, 6 out there?
Just want to say thank you for this opportunity to come and speak with you today. Hopefully there's a couple things in there that will benefit you in the long run. I'm really excited about where the Air Force is going. I'm excited about where Air Force Recruiting Service is going. It's a big job. It really is, for all of us. And every job is critical. Everybody is important. We need every single one of us on deck and to be going in the right direction and having that positive attitude and taking care of one another. That's what it's all about. Life is short. Let's take care of one another. And thanks again for everything that you guys do out there. I sincerely appreciate it. We're going to continue to remove layers here at AFRS, make things better for you. Some things take a little bit longer than other things, but we're going to continue to strive to make it as best as possible for you guys out there. Again, thanks for what you do.
Thanks, Chief. We appreciate it. And I just want to say I've only been here for a short amount of time at AFRS, but a lot of times we can look at other outside agencies and think, man, what are they doing there? We don't understand what's going on. But just being here and being around all the great individuals in this building, there's a lot of people here that care a lot about what's going on in the field, and they're advocating on everyone out there's behalf. And so I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad to have interviewed you today. So we'll see you next month in May for the Mentor of the Month. You guys have a great day, and thanks for watching.
Thank you.